President Trump calls for a peaceful transition, but he won't be at the Biden inauguration. A Capitol Hill police officer dies from riot injuries, an inexcusable COVID vaccine delay, and get ready for a purge of conservatives. The president has said it's over. He said there is no longer any continued fight over the election. There must be a peaceful transition. He released a statement last night, and I wanted to let you hear some of that right now so we can discuss what this all means. Go for it. Play
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections.
We do need to make sure that future elections don't have some of the questions around them that this one did. We absolutely need to ensure that. But this election is over, friends. This one is done. You know it, I know it. We don't need to get too deep into all of that. And we have less than 2 weeks before the Joe Biden administration is going to start. So now we have to deal with this. We have to see this reality for what it is. And we have to prepare for what is coming. I'm going to do all of that with you today. But first, I want to say that there is, and I will not let this go, a tremendous amount of hypocrisy from the media about what they saw on Capitol Hill and what they generally excuse or explain away or even encourage, depending on who we're talking about and what specific riot. All riots are bad. We should be able to agree on this, right? Left, right, everybody should be able to agree. All riots are bad. You don't start breaking things, attacking people, trespassing, threatening, and even assaulting law enforcement. Look, a Capitol Hill police officer's dead, they believe, because he was hit over the head with a fire extinguisher. That's murder. A woman went to this protest and she was shot in the neck, and what looks like to me excessive force, which would make that an illegal shooting, not quite murder, but perhaps a criminal charge. We shall see. But the Capitol Hill police officer who died was doing his job. He was doing his job. We back the blue or not? We do. Let's not forget that. Do we condemn riots or not? We do. And I'm telling you, anybody right now who wants to get mad at me about this one or wants to pick a fight over this, I welcome it. Let's all remember who we are. Let's remember what we stand for here. All right, Trump is done. He's not going to be president for the next 4 years. And there are very real questions now about what the future of President Trump personally in politics will be. I think his statement last night was excellent. I think that he is representative of a broader movement of conservative populism, but we have to see where this all goes. The next 2 weeks need to be a quieter process, a peaceful process, as he has called for. But we also need to deal with this reality. I know it's uncomfortable. People have been lied to here. They have been misled. And honestly, there are some people who have been telling me the truth about what has been going on to the degree they could in the White House. And there were others who were running around saying things, just wait, we're going to have the evidence, we're going to give it to you. And they were telling me this on a personal level. They were telling me this off the record, behind closed doors. What do they have? Where is it? Nothing. They didn't change a darn thing. And now the left is more emboldened than it's ever been. They have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency. It's all happening right now. And I'm here with you, getting ready for the fight that lays ahead, because we are coming to grips with this one right now. And part of that means looking at everything honestly now with clear eyes. Look at what has actually happened. A Capitol Hill police officer is dead. A woman, a mother, a veteran is dead. A number of other people from injuries that I can't get specifics about how, but they're being placed as they're being reported on as injuries related to or deaths related to this protest. There are a handful of other people as well, but certainly the Capitol Hill police officer and Ashley Babbitt, the woman who was shot in the neck, they are dead. And this whole unleashing of fury and rage in the Capitol, as I said immediately, and many people are mad. I know. I'm like all these others, thousands and thousands of unfollows on Twitter and everything else. Always going to tell you the truth. This is not a close call. This is not a hard one. This was a massive blunder, and we need to rally back from this and come together. It was wrong and it was dumb. And that's what we need to understand right now. It was wrong and it was counterproductive on every level. And the people who are telling you otherwise in media are lying to you. The people who are telling you that there's still going to be some constitutional challenge or there's a crack-in or there's a whatever, they are lying to you. And some of them have been lying to you all along. Some of them have been lying to you now for 6 to 8 weeks or so, telling you, oh, don't worry, it's definitely going to happen. And they knew better. I've been saying for how long now, Joe Biden's almost certainly going to be the president. You know the only reason I couldn't tell you 100%, I was saying 99%? Because there were people around this White House, there were people who are very connected into the Trump administration who were saying, you're going to see something. It's coming. It's coming. I'm not running the recount efforts. I'm not the one going through the ballots. I'm not bringing the legal challenges. So you have to leave open the possibility, but I've been saying this for a while, and people, including some who I know have listened to me for a long time, and they know to trust me. They know I tell them the truth. They know the value of this show lies not just in the knowledge that I have about an array of things, but also in the fact that I will always respect you. I don't pander to this audience. I don't lie to this audience. And unfortunately, there are a lot of other people who do. And that's why there's so much anger right now, on top of all the other things. Not only have we had a year of COVID-19 and lockdowns and just BLM riots and all the rest of it, we've also had a year in the end here going into the election where there were people that we were counting on and people that we were trusting, and they've let us down. Let's understand that. There are people that many of you listen to or watch or trust when they speak in their professional capacity in some government role, and they have let us down. That has occurred. We should be honest about it. We should be able to speak about it. And anyone who's telling you the truth, I can assure you, is not the enemy. Right? So get that out of your head. I know this is a tough one. It's a tough week. I tweeted out Monday night, it's going to be a rough week, folks. Strap in. I didn't know how rough it was going to be. And yes, it's worth discussing the hypocrisy. Yes, we need to understand that the Democrat left is vicious and vindictive and taking this far beyond. I mean, saying that this was sedition and that people should spend decades in prison. Look, if you hit a cop over the head with a fire extinguisher and he died, you got to go away. You got to go away for murder. That's what we're talking about now. This is serious, folks. And you know that I'm right when I say that. If somebody assaulted a law, I don't care what they think their cause is. If somebody assaults a law enforcement officer in the course of his duties or her duties and kills that officer, there must be severe penalty. There must be absolute accountability for that. Otherwise, we've got nothing. Otherwise, it's just mob versus mob out there on the street. Do they like the mob? Does the left like the mob when it suits their purposes? Of course they do. Is it disgusting that they have no standards that they apply to this that are equal? Is it grotesque that they're hypocrites in ways that you almost wonder if it's just a commentary on their intelligence or just their character is so rotten that they don't know the difference? But this is where we are. I wanted to bring you better news this week, that's for sure. And I'm as disappointed as many of you. I'm as disappointed as those of you who were expecting 4 more years. You know, I was the guy who in 2019 was telling you, enjoy this, remember this. The good guys are winning. The country is doing great. This is as good as it's going to get anytime soon. That's what I was telling you. You remember that. 2020 was a different story for us because of this pandemic and because the left finally felt like it was in a position to get vengeance on Trump and his supporters. And they're just getting started. If you're wondering if I have a silver lining for you at this point, it would be the following. There's a lot of recriminations, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of circular firing squad among Republicans going on right now. And that's only gonna be more in the days and weeks ahead. And it's going to look like we have a very bleak political future. It's going to feel that way. There are going to be some times. I'm here to tell you that we will get through this. We will come together. And one of the biggest instigators of that will be the way that the left is now going to overplay its hand, pretend it has a mandate, ignore the will of 74 million voters, and treat them like they're subhuman and they're scum. And the media will talk down to them. Joe Biden will give some completely boilerplate speeches about how he wants to unify the country and bring the country together. And then every Democrat policy and every action taken by big corporations and social media and journos will be to punish the apostates, the people who are beneath contempt for their support of Donald Trump. And you know what that's going to do? That's going to bring us all together. We're going to end up circling the wagons among conservatives because we're not going to have any choice, friends. That's happening. It's just a question of when. This riot on Capitol Hill, the media hates. And I'm not going to say anything other than it should be condemned. And it was just honestly awful. What happened, you know, now we've got people who are dead, and all this did was hurt the movement, and it was bad. I said it right away. As soon as I saw it, my stomach was turning over. I just felt, you know, my heart drop into my throat. I said, oh my gosh, no, not this. But the media also has a long history and a recent history of feeling very differently about political violence and about riots, and we're not going to let them get away with that hypocrisy. We should remember that the viciousness and destructiveness of BLM was supported by, excused by, even encouraged by members of the mainstream media, that police officers were murdered by BLM supporters. And that happened even during the first iteration of BLM back in, 2015? So we've been seeing this for quite some time. Here is a montage pulled together, I believe, by Grabian of all the times that the media in the last year were talking about violence in a way that it feels quite, and this is just a sampling of it, there's more, but it feels like if it's their team doing this, then it's like not that big a deal. And I'm talking about burning down police stations. I'm talking about trying to set fire to a federal courthouse. I'm talking about shining lasers in the eyes of federal officers with the intention of blinding them. I'll tell you right now, if I thought somebody was trying to blind me and I had a sidearm, I would use it in the course of my duties. But that was all somehow very different. That was all very, very different according to the media. Play clip 1.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists, and they've taken a principled stand to stand against white supremacists and white nationalists wherever they may show up.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what they were there fighting. Listen, there's, no organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I don't care that much about statues.
Shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do.
You're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Do not get it twisted and think that, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
This is how this country was started, by people lighting small businesses on fire and throwing rocks and bricks and bags of urine at police officers because of the history of racism in this country or something. They're not even really sure why they do it. Those were multimillionaire news anchors of the left on national cable channels, sounding like complete morons, but that was absolutely in line with what the Democrat Party feeling and all that was too. So yes, I know they're in no position to morally lecture us about political violence if they're not going to call it out when it is happening, not only on their side, sometimes it happens with far greater frequency. But here we are. Here we are. Now they're going to use this. They're going to weaponize this incident against all of us. 1,000, let's say, Trump supporters run into the Capitol, and of that, maybe hundreds, maybe a few dozen were truly violent, attacking cops. Maybe, and one of them, it seems, killed a police officer. We draw the hardest of red lines possible on that one. And now the entire movement has to carry this for the next 4 years because of the way the media is going to frame all of this. That's what we now face, and we have to fight back against this. And they're coming for us, friends, in all the cancel culture ways they can. That's happening.
A little over an hour and a half after the chaos started, I got a text from my granddaughter, Finnegan Biden, who's a senior in her last semester at the University of Pennsylvania. She sent me a photo of military people in full military gear, scores of them lining the steps of the Lincoln Memorial because of protests by Black Lives Matter. She said, "Pop, this isn't fair. No one can tell me that if had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very, very differently than the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol." We all know that's true. And it is unacceptable, totally unacceptable.
I just want to know something. Why are they going to continue to do this and say things that are just inciting now in the other direction and that are hateful and divisive, when anyone who's paying attention and being honest about this would say the really gentle treatment that the protesters received? I think there were almost 50 arrests. A woman was shot in the neck who posed no imminent threat to anybody, from what you can see in the video. She was killed by police. How many times have police opened fire with live rounds on Black Lives Matter protesters? Of the hundreds and hundreds of riots across the country in 2020. I'm not aware of a single time. But we're going to now take this position that there's some big difference where the police, what is it? Is it because the police are racist now? Including the large percentage of a lot of major departments like the NYPD in New York, where I worked, that are minority, that have a lot of great public servants, great honorable Black and Latino men and women in that uniform as well. We back the blue. There are some things, my friends, there are some things that we say and we have to mean. All right, we stand beside our law enforcement brothers and sisters when they're in the legal furtherance of their duties. And they were. And we always need to have that as a foundation of our analysis about incidents like this. You know, we're not taking the anti-cop, the cops are all racist position. That's what Joe Biden's doing here. That's really what you're supposed to take away from this. It would all be so different because Black Lives Matter protesters were treated so badly. There were hundreds of protests across the country where there was not violence. That is true. There were BLM protests where there wasn't violence. There wasn't destruction of property. I saw protests right here in Times Square where that was the case. And the police were there, and they were completely professional and even cordial. And that's what we can expect. They're there to help with crowd control and just make sure that everyone's safe and their First Amendment rights are respected. They don't bother anybody. They're just there because you have a large crowd gathered in a busy city, and there's, you got to make sure you're not blocking traffic and that everything is kept orderly. When they start burning down buildings and trying to destroy a federal courthouse and light a police precinct on fire and throw bottles of urine and Molotov cocktails and all this stuff at law enforcement officers, then they're going to have to get tear gassed. They're going to have to get arrested and tackled to the ground and flex cuffed because that's anarchy, and we are supposed to still be a country of laws. We are supposed to be one that still cares about that. Why do this now? Why set up this dichotomy of law enforcement treatment of the Trump Capitol Hill protesters versus law enforcement treatment of BLM? Do they really think what? I mean, I think that the Trump rioters in this case, or the pro-Trump rioters, I should say, the problem for law enforcement was that they had an expectation that this would be like pretty much every other, right of center rally that you've seen of any size, of any consequence, stretching back to the Tea Party, where people were law-abiding, peaceful, protesting. That was their expectation. That was my expectation. So I feel at some level like I was fooled on this. Well, what do you mean you're going to go do this at the Capitol? Yeah, march in D.C. I was calling friends of mine who were in the march. How's it going? Oh, it's great. We're just, trying to tell everybody we're not going to back this, and we're going to, we want answers, and we want the lockdowns to end. There were a lot of things there. It was a protest. It was people having their voices heard, gathering together with like-minded people. And then there was what happened on Capitol Hill, which was a different thing. I wonder if the people who, as soon as I condemned it as soon as I saw it because I knew what was happening was wrong, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many Twitter followers I lose. Doesn't matter how many people say, Buck, I'm gonna, who are they gonna go? They're gonna go listen to who, right? I mean, they're gonna who out there of any consequence, of any intellectual honesty whatsoever is saying, yeah, you know what, that old Capitol Hill riot, that was really sound thinking. I'm waiting to hear the name. So I understand there's a lot of anger and outrage here, but I'm a part of this family known as conservatism in America today. I'm inside the family, so I'm going to speak to people who are also a part of it as though they're family members, as though we have this commonality, we have this bond, and we do. And that means speaking the truth about it. And yes, I'm going to call out Biden and Harris and the pandering, and it enrages me. It enrages me when I have to sit around and hear that, BLM would have been treated so much more poorly. A woman was shot in the neck and killed by the cops. BLM would have been treated so much more poorly? Really? BLM it got away with so much. I mean, there were district attorneys who were saying that they weren't going to prosecute them for a whole slew of offenses, weren't going to prosecute them. What do you think that does to law enforcement's ability to actually keep order? It's honestly, it's so disappointing and so disgusting. I'm going to tell you this as an American. I wish that the Biden administration coming in, I wish that Joe Biden really was going to be this grandfatherly figure who says, everybody, you know what? We're all going to just remember what it is that makes us American, and we're going to operate in good faith. We're going to try to convince each other of the rightness of our ideas. We're going to base things on facts. We're going to base things on logic. We're going to respect the Constitution. I would love that. I would love it. We all know that's not going to happen. We all know that at the center of the Democrat left these days are not just bad ideas, but falsehood. I mean, lies. A baby in the womb isn't a baby. There are more than two genders. Go down the list. Socialism is a great idea. You go on the list of all these things, you say, what are they doing? Their authoritarian impulse, their nastiness toward anybody who does not mouth the preferred slogans, who does not go along with the left-wing orthodoxy, their desire for total control over your life, making you do things they themselves won't do, but they like being able to make you do it. And they think that they're good people for that imposition on you. That's not changing. We are heading toward that. We are heading toward a Biden administration that's going to say, you know what? If you're accused of a sexual assault on a college campus, remember this? Betsy DeVos, I know she just resigned. If you're accused of a sexual assault on a college campus, you have no rights because you're male and the patriarchy and sorry, #CampusMeToo, your life is ruined now. Because a woman would never lie about these things, and you have no rights of due process in these Title IX proceedings, right? I mean, this is, you sit here, you go through all this. That's just wrong. That's immoral. What they're doing is wrong. And they will advocate for that. They will continue to push for things like that. We saw who the left really is during the Kavanaugh hearings, of which Kamala Harris was one of the worst offenders. They will destroy a good person. They will do it publicly. They will ruin not only his professional life, his family, his reputation. They will skewer him on national TV for nothing other than power. And they think that they're the good guys because of it. That's not changing. And that's why I'm so concerned about the purge, as I see it, that will be coming. You're going to see a lot of cancellations. You're going to see more and more deplatforming. People keep saying, oh, the social media stuff's going to blow over. No, it's not. They have more control. Why would they give it up? What did I tell you about lockdowns and Democrats? Remember the theory in the beginning of the summer of 2020 was that, once the Democrats are in charge, the lockdown they'll call for lockdowns to end. That's not true. I told you, they like this control. They like this power. They think that they're in the right by making you do things that they themselves, of course, don't want to do and won't do. Right? You have to live by rules that they don't. That's one of the centerpieces of Democrat thinking and the way the left approaches things. So that get ready for a whole lot more of that. But on the social media side, which for those who work in media this is now like the printing presses of the 16 and 1700s. I mean, this is how we get information out there, just clamping down on it. Only the allowed orthodoxy of the left will be shared on social media. They will, if you try anything else, they will shut you down. They're going to turn on. Remember a few years ago, it was that guy Milo and Alex Jones. It was those kinds of people who were getting canceled and deplatformed, and some people were saying this is just a harbinger of things to come. This is going to get worse. They're going to come after everybody. But that's based upon a principle, right? That's based upon people should have free speech, and even if someone has really bad ideas, the left doesn't operate in good faith with this. They love to find something, take it out of context, and try to ruin you for it. They know people on the right don't mean the things that they will often say they meant, or they will pick one word or one tweet or one statement, say, see, this person's a racist, or see, this person is a defender of rapists like Kavanaugh, or whatever. They'll say crazy stuff. And even if they know it's not true, they view it as just racking up more wins against the right. They do not operate from a place of principle. They operate from a place of the desire for power. And that means that the Josh Hawley book cancellation, I know Josh Hawley's a famous guy and he's a senator and he's going to be okay, but you're going to see a lot more of that. You're going to see a lot more of that. The pendulum is swinging back to the other side, and you have an emboldened, sanctimonious, vengeful left that is going to be in an even stronger position to take this out on their enemies. And the only upside of this, as I've said, is that it will bring us together on the right of American politics more. Conservatives will be forced to say, okay, this is crazy. This is out of hand. What are they doing? And there will be an opposition that forms over this. I don't know how much of a part of it Trump will be. I don't know how much a part of it anyone in his family is going to be. We are in a real sea change moment here in American politics. So what do we have? We stick to our principles and each other, and know who is a person of character and decency and support them. Hopefully you think that's true of this show and what we do here, but that's the only real advice I can give you for this moment in politics. Stick to your own character and decency and find other people that share that. Because there's there's a scrambling for the lifeboats going on right now in American politics, and it's going to get ugly. And it's true in media too. True in the media. Now all of a sudden you'll see who really likes the Trump people and who was just kind of faking it all along.
What we saw yesterday was a group of violent rioters undermining the legitimate First Amendment rights of the many thousands who came to peacefully have their voices heard in our nation's capital. Those who violently besieged our capital are the opposite of everything this administration stands for. The core value of our administration is the idea that all citizens have the right to live in safety, peace, and freedom. Those who are working in this building are working to ensure an orderly transition of power. Now it is time for America to unite, to come together, to reject the violence that we have seen. We are one American people under God.
Media is not going to accept any of this, right? That was White House press secretary. They're all saying it's too little, too late. They don't care that there's a tone from this White House of conciliatory outreach. Nope. They want him gone. They actually want him to be removed from office at this stage. That's something they've wanted for 4 years, and it was absurd. It was laughable until this moment. But there are people in this administration, and I've heard from people in the White House who have confirmed this to me off the record. There are very prominent people who they will no longer stand with Trump. That is a reality. That is what is going on right now, and it's a shame. I mean, it is a terrible idea to remove the president at this stage because he's going in 2 weeks. We all know it. I've known it for how I can't even do the math in my head, but weeks and weeks and weeks. This is just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And I think I've said that exact phrase, just not going to happen, many times on the show. Here's Pelosi calling for the removal of the president using the 25th Amendment. Play 12.
I don't know if the word good is a way to describe it, but because yesterday, the President of the United States incited an armed insurrection against America. The gleeful desecration of the U.S. Capitol, which is the temple of our American democracy, and the violence targeting Congress are horrors that will forever stain our nation's history, instigated by the President of the United States. That's why it's such a stain. In calling for this seditious act, the President has committed an unspeakable assault on our nation and our people. I join the Senate Democratic leader in calling on the Vice President to remove this President by immediately invoking the 25th Amendment. If the Vice President and the Cabinet do not act, the Congress may be prepared to move forward with impeachment. That is the overwhelming sentiment of my caucus.
They're looking to remove him. They're going to keep the pressure on. I don't think this is going to happen, and I think it's a very bad idea for them to do it. Can't guarantee you it's not going to happen.